Welcome, my constant reader friends. I'm Tad, and this is Tad Reads Books and Stuff. All right, today, let's start by doing some bookkeeping. So, I'm almost done with Caliban's War, the second book in the Expanse series. About 100 pages left, so I will be able to finish it before the end of the month. Of course, I'm doing this as a read-along with Moyd on his channel. Really enjoying it. I have seen the TV series, and this is going along pretty well with the TV series. I kind of like that I watched the TV series first for a change before reading a book. It does kind of, just flesh out some of the people, and I see them, when I'm reading the book. Some variances in the characterizations, but pretty much really good. So I'll be finishing that soon. And of course, I have to finish the second short story in Memories Legion that goes along with this time frame. And that is The Butcher of Anderson Station. If you're familiar with that, with this story, that will have to do with Fred, leader of the OPA right now. But we'll have to finish that too in the next 4 days. Next, I finished Stephen King, Billy Summers. We're going to talk about that in a couple minutes. All done. One of the reasons I still haven't finished Caliban's War is because I just couldn't put down Billy Summers. But we'll talk about that later. Okay, also, September is Sci-Fi September, and I will be doing that. So I have a TBR for September, but there's a caveat. First off, this is what I'm trying to do. Now, this is one of my older novels that I have on this shelf back here that's a compilation. And this is 3 Hainish novels by Ursula K. Le Guin. Of course, Sci-Fi has, and they're in order from when she wrote them, not necessarily in order of, time frame. But there's Rokanan's World, there's Planet of Exile, and City of Illusion are the 3 first Hainish novels in this book. I'm going to, hopefully read those 3. Then, to carry on with that series, I have The Left Hand of Darkness. Again, another Hainish novel by Ursula K. Le Guin. This one won tons of awards. Hugo Award, Nebula Award, Science Fiction Novel of the Year. Everybody talks about this one. I have not read it yet, but it is actually in publication order, the 4th book. So I'm going to read the first 4 Hainish novels in publication order by Ursula K. Le Guin, hopefully. And of course, I'm going to continue with the read along with The Expanse, book 3, Abaddon's Gate. Why am I saying a caveat? Well, I'm sure many of you know that September 6th is going to be the release of Fairy Tales by Stephen King. I'm going to get that book on the 6th, and I'm going to stop everything and start reading that novel. I really would like to do a more present Stephen King talk of one of his books. It seems like I just keep reading things like Billy Summers here. I mean, this is a year old. I finally read it. I got it right when it came out, but I finally just read it. So I will be definitely reading Fairy Tales as soon as it comes out. So that's going to put a little kibosh maybe on my TBR, my Sci-Fi September TBR that I'm hoping to get through. But I mean, that's 3, 4, 5, that's 6 novels. I might be able to do it depending on how work goes. I believe that my work may start slowing down a little bit, so I might have some more time. It's just, I mean, I normally do 5 books in a month. Usually I'm pretty good at hitting my TBRs. Just a couple times I misfired a little bit, but then I got the books read, except for From Hell, which I'm still slogging through. I'm sorry, Alan Moore, but I am. I'll get it done one of these days. But anyways, next, let's start talking about Billy Summers. All right, let's get the numbers out of the way. Billy Summers by Stephen King, of course, was published in August of 2021. I'm reading it in August 2022, so it's been a year. 515 pages in this novel, and on Goodreads there is a 4.24 rating currently. So, what is Billy Summers? Well, I made a concerted effort to try not to get a lot of information on this book before I read it. So I've been not watching or listening or reading anything for a year now, but I have heard a lot of people love it, and I've heard people that don't like it. So I went into it, what is it? I have no idea. There's a car, driving down the road with some, looks like a book, page from a book underneath it. Well, Billy Summers is a hitman. Gun for hire. Well, not that glamorous, but he is basically a hitman. And in this book, there's really, I think, 3 almost separate novels in this book. It's not a huge book for Stephen King by any means, but there are almost like 3 distinct chapters or books in this, and I found them all very interesting. Let's start at first. So at first, it starts with Billy Summers. He's like 44 years old, and he's been hired as a hitman to kill this other hitman. And it goes from there. I'm not going to give a lot away, but it does delve back in the beginning it has flashbacks back to his childhood and the horrible things that happened to him in his childhood, his progression through life. When he's real young, some things happen. He ends up in a children's home. There's some stuff that happened there. Then, of course, he transitions and he just wants to get away, and he joins the Marines. In the Marines, he becomes a sniper. He's a really good shot. I mean, I'm not going to say that he's the greatest in the world. He'll even say he's not the greatest in the world, but he's really good. Then we transition into his life as a Marine in Fallujah in Iraq, and his job as being a sniper. We go into that. It's very visceral. If you're into any of that type of war, military, stories, it's very interesting. He does a great job. Stephen King does a great job with this, even though I'm sure he was never in Iraq or in Fallujah, but he actually does a really good job with that. I was in the military. I was stationed in Turkey prior to this story, of course. I'm an old guy. But so then we come back from Iraq, and he transitioned into his job as a hitman. And you kind of learn how he became a hitman, things like that. The thing with Billy Summers is, he's not, well, I don't know. I think he does consider himself a murderer, but he has this moral code. So kind of like Dexter, he kills bad people. I guess he's a bad person too. I mean, you're a murderer, you're a bad person too. Doing it for money is still even worse, maybe. But that's his story. So he takes this job to kill this other hitman who's screwed up. You can read about that. And he takes on this other persona as a writer, of course. It's a Stephen King novel. The protagonist is probably going to be an author, writer, somehow involved with writing. But so he takes this persona as David Lockridge, and he is a writer, and he rents a office in a building right across the street from the courthouse, where he's going to eventually take his shot to as a hitman. And he has to be there for so long because they're not sure when this guy's going to be extradited to this state. He has to try to start blending in. There has to be a reason why he's there so long. So he starts befriending people, other people that work in that office building that he works in, also a house that he's renting. He becomes friends with all the neighborhood families and kids. And so that's kind of, I have seen people not like this part because as it transitions into other books, like I said, it's almost like 3 distinct novels. They kind of go away from these people that he took all this time to get to know and befriend. I think it was still interesting, very interesting, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. So then he eventually performs his job as a hitman, and it goes into this other, well, the second book after that is where he is hiding out. He's the great Houdini. He's the escape artist they talk about, but really he's got another place where he rented, and he's just hanging out there until, you know, the smoke clears. And he's nervous too because he doesn't get paid. He didn't get paid what he was supposed to get paid. He was supposed to get paid $2 million. $500,000 up front, then the other $1.5 million after the job is done. He doesn't get paid, and he's suspicious that maybe they were trying to set him up and kill him as well. So we transition into the second book. He's hiding out. Something happens. He hears a noise outside. He sees this girl. She's dumped out of this van with 3 guys. He goes to help her. It's freezing outside, and she was raped and beaten by these 3 guys. He takes her in and kind of nurses her back to health. That's another, this is now like the second book. Some people don't like this part because it is slower. The first part, you know, you're learning things, you're ramping up into this murder, and boom, it's like, what is it, 197 pages, and he did his job. And I'm like, wow, this book is over. No. Now we've got Alice. He's taking care of Alice. She becomes a big part of the story. Maybe some Stockholm Syndrome stuff there where she kind of, I don't know, starts falling in love with Billy. You have to read it. And then that transitions into the third book, which really is like a revenge novel. He didn't get paid. He wants his money. You know, this was supposed to be his last job, this big score. Now he's pissed off. His handler, he does have a handler, his buddy Bucky. So now we go into the third book where he's going to try to revenge his not getting paid and get paid. He's going to get paid. So that goes into the third story. So probably, you know, a lot of people talk about Stephen King that he can't end a book. He's horrible. His endings are horrible. Yeah, some are really horrible. Some of his novels have completely pissed me off at the end because of the endings, and I was kind of, I was enjoying the book all the way to the end, and then it just pissed me off so much I didn't enjoy the book anymore. Yes, he does that, but he sticks landings too. This one is one of the ones that I could see coming a mile away. When Billy goes, I'm not going to give it all away, but when Billy goes to see Bucky, in the third book, from that point, I had some inklings of how this story was going to go. But when he goes to see Bucky, boom, I had it all. I knew exactly how the book was going to end, and I was not dissatisfied. It ended exactly the way that I thought it was going to, and it was awesome. I'm sorry, there's people out there who hate this book. People love the book. I freaking loved this book. I gave it 5 stars. It's going to go into probably my top 10. I don't know why, but let me tell you something. When you read a book and frickin' Stephen King writes this little novel here and Tad's bawling his eyes out. I mean, that's emotions enough for me to say, wow, he did his job. This is a good book. I'm so invested now, I'm sitting here crying. It's ridiculous. A book can make you cry. Yeah, it can. Absolutely. Make you laugh, make you cringe, make you cry. So, I loved it. There are some things that are flaws in it. Yes, he does this good coming of age things, and his character building is amazing, of course. But it did still sound a little like old folk. I shouldn't say that word. Old fogey-ish. Like he was writing about, playing Monopoly with these kids on the weekends, and it's just not really. I don't think it's done that much. I'm a huge board gamer, but not Monopoly. I'm picking on Monopoly. I shouldn't do that, but he does. He plays with his kids, and it becomes this huge deal. I don't know. I think more of the kids still would be wanting, hey, Billy, what's, see what's on my cell phone. Let's play a video game or something. But that's all right. That is a little weird there. Also, like people have complained, once he kind of transitions into the second book and thereon, those whole people that he built this whole relationship with are kind of gone from the story. Not all of them, though. There's this little girl, Shanice, and Shanice loved Billy. Billy won her a big stuffed flamingo at the fair. She drew him a beautiful little picture with the crayons that he keeps. Shanice, I think what would really be cool, Stephen, if you're listening to me, if you're watching this, Stephen, I think it'd be cool now to do a second story in this kind of world with Shanice. Because how did this girl love this guy and then find out he's a murderer? How is this going to affect her? How is she going to live the rest of her life? What's going to happen with her? I think it'd be a cool story, dude. Write something about Shanice now as she's gotten older. That would be cool. Also, please, people, tell me, have you ever called your laptop a lappy? Is that even a thing? I mean, I'm an old dude, but I have kids, I have friends, younger friends. I've never heard anybody call their laptop their lappy. He kept calling it lappy, and it just pissed me off every time. I was like, nobody calls a laptop a lappy. What the hell are you talking about? And let's talk about what everybody else talks about, politics. Yes, Stephen King throws a shit ton of his political views in this novel. Does it tear you out of the novel? I think for some people it absolutely does and will. And you might get pissed off and not want to read it. For me, not so much, really, because come on, people, he's been doing this since he started writing. He's talked about every president in almost every book of that time since he's been writing. He wears his political feelings on his sleeves, and he's not afraid to write about it in his novels. So you should know that going in. It's gonna be there. It's gonna happen. Hate him for it. That's fine. Don't read it. That's fine. But I'm going to tell you, read this book. If you have not read Billy Summers, read this book. It's now into kind of like his crime novels that he's been doing lately, with the Mr. Mercedes. Started, I guess, with the Colorado Kid. Things like that. The Institute, maybe even a little bit. But I loved it. I've seen people comparing this with the more recent book, Later. Which one's better, Later or Billy Summers? I'm sorry. I love Billy Summers. Yes, there's still some of his multiverse in this book. I'm not going to talk about it. You can find it out for yourself. Just like Later was really cool. There was multiverse in Later. I don't know. I liked Later. I'm not saying that, but I think I like Billy Summers better, and I think it's going to go in my top 10. All right, guys. Thank you for watching. Hopefully, if you found any entertaining value in this video, you will like and subscribe. And as always, please send me comments. I love seeing the comments. It's awesome. Thank you very much. Peace out.